Thank you, everybody, for attending this talk by Filip Paldia and Samuel Čarnoký, titled Beyond the Stroke. Filip mainly made this stroke-based type design approach called Letter Ink. That's a kind of glyphs plugin. And yeah, it has made type design process in certain styles much easier. And Samuel is also a very talented typeface designer in his own way. And together they're giving a presentation. And yeah, that stage is yours. Yeah, take it away. Or
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Toshi.
So let me share the screen.
Are you presenting live or?
Yeah, we will be presenting live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice. So good morning, typographic brothers and sisters.
Good afternoon and good evening.
Meet Dr. Samuel Čarnoký.
Meet Master Filip Paldia. Today we will proclaim the message.
The message of the skeletons.
The skeletons that are the secret power of the drawing letters with strokes.
Truly, Doctor, the vast majority of letter shapes consist of the strokes, don't they?
Undoubtedly, they do.
And the strokes and the skeletons are inseparable companions.
Inseparable companions. That's like us, Master Filip.
Sure. Companions like us. Dr. Samuel, like us.
And because of this beautiful friendship of the stroke and the skeletons, we will be proclaiming the message of the skeleton type design.
Moreover, there is an important point of this talk. We will be demonstrating the results of our examination of the stroke theory. The theory described in this book about the strokes and writing. The theory written by Father Gerrit Noordzij.
Certainly, this is the most important text about the stroke shapes in the type design.
Thank you for your addition, Dr. Samuel. And also we will be talking about Letter Ink, the tool that we used for the examination of the stroke theory.
We are the skeleton evangelist. Master Filip, he appeared at ATypI 2016 in Warsaw with brother Martin Cetkowski, but he is not here today. They talked about their plans to build the stroke tool Letter Ink. Now he is empowering the font skeletons with an artificial intelligence as doctoral student at Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Bratislava, Slovakia. I guess he will be talking about his study soon.
Dr. Samuel is the font chiropractor, typographer, and lecturer, and I must say that he knows about the font, meat and bones more than any other person on the planet. When the font skeletons are hidden in the closet, Samuel is making fonts at his type foundry Čarnoký type and teaches visual communication at Faculty of Arts of the Technical University of Košice in Slovakia.
That was it, the introduction. Now, Master Filip, could you please, what's happened? The presentation is not now there. Filip. Sorry for the technical complications. Now, Master Filip, could you please spend a few minutes and explain what you mean by the skeleton type design?
Indeed, I could. I will explain everything about this strange image and other similar strange images. So let me read. Skeleton type design, as such, is an approach to drawing letter shapes. The obvious aspect of this skeleton approach is that the skeleton type design combines the stroke drawing approach and the outline drawing approach. Please apologize again. This is a different kind of outliner.
But Master Filip, isn't this a figure drawn on the ground, outlining evidence at a crime scene, eventually, and outline that person?
Right. This reminds me of Mr. Papazian's claim that skeletons are typographically dead. He literally said, typographically skeletons are dead, and instead we should design what we read, the notan, ergo drawing solely with outliners.
Wait, what is notan, Master Filip?
Notan, I don't know, Dr. Samuel. Maybe you should ask Mr. Papazian.
Okay, the skeletons are dead, and the outliners are for drawing dead people. The type design world is not what it used to be.
Oh, don't be sad, doctor. Skeletons are not dead. In skeleton type design, we leverage both approaches, the stroke drawing approach and the outline drawing approach, as I said. And in many cases, the outliners are necessary, right?
Right. The vast amount of letter forms consists of the strokes. Yet another vast amount of the letter forms consists of the non-stroke shapes, the outliners.
Correct. Therefore, the outline drawing approach doesn't necessarily go against the stroke drawing approach. They are companions, but not necessarily inseparable.
Master, tell us how they work together.
Father Gerrit, in his book, mentioned the stroke health line.
An imaginary line drawn along the center of the stroke, or eventually a trajectory of the writing tool moving on the medium, for instance, a paper.
That health line is used as a construction, the so-called skeletons. Here, the skeletons acts as an interface for manipulating letter shapes, the Bezier curves. The shapes of the skeletons apparently impact the stroke shapes. And voila, it also influences the composition of the outliner shapes.
Master Filip, so the skeleton type design means combining the two contradictory approaches. Is that what you are trying to say?
Exactly. In the same way as we are using the skeletons for constructing the strokes, we use the skeletons to mount outliners together. Thanks to the skeletons, the strokes and outliners assemble the complex letter shapes.
That's astute, Master Filip.
Isn't it, Dr. Samuel?
And now, shall we examine the Father Gerrit Noordzij's theory with this astute skeleton approach?
Undoubtedly, we shall. We have the cutting-edge stroke engine lettering, and we are utilizing it during our examination procedure.
Please tell us more about it, Master Filip.
Sure. Lettering is a stroke drawing engine that generates all kinds of stroke contrasts. The translation-based contrast, where a part of the tool imprint at one moment is translated from the one side of the skeleton to another side of a skeleton. And in this moment, the stroke shape is the thinnest, therefore the translation contrast. Expansion-based contrast, when the imprint change its size at the certain part of the skeleton. It is expanding more or expanding less. At the thinnest part is the imprint expanded the least, and on the thickest part is the imprint expanded the most. Therefore, the expansion-based contrast. And
the trickiest one,
the rotation-based contrast. It is produced when the imprint is rotating on the skeleton. The change in the angle is causing the change in the stroke thickness. Hence, it generates rotation-based contrast. The lettering tool is generating the contrast based on an imprint of the ellipsis shape. that is moving along the skeleton. And the stroke contrast variation can be done by manipulating with the parameters of the imprint at each control point of the skeleton Bezier curve. The imprint parameter can be edited individually for each control point, or all at once while keeping proportions of the different ellipsis parameters. And at the end, it converts the strokes to well-plotted outlines.
What do you mean by well-plotted outlines, Master Filip?
It means that the vectorized stroke does not have the random, messy Bezier points, but they are placed predictable, like if you were drawing the strokes manually with outlines.
Holy glyph, that's miraculous. This is saving hours of our work.
Even days, Dr. Samuel, even days. The engine is distributed as a plugin for glyphs and recently as a beta version for Adobe Illustrator. And today it allows us to examine the stroke theory through and through without limits of what has been seen before.
Oh, my bones, Master Filip, but enough showing off. Let me now present the process of how we use this letter ink engine for the examination of the stroke theory. Let's compare the result with the iconic cube of Father Gerrit Noordzij.
Brilliant idea, Doctor. Father Gerrit used this cube to demonstrate how various stroke contrasts influence the letter shapes.
Exactly. His cube diagram is a way of analyzing letter forms. It ranges variants of one character along the three axes: the kind of contrast, increasing contrast, and diminishing contrast.
Yeah, I like the continuum this Noordzij's cube represents. The hidden but expected letter forms makes me curious about what is behind the apparent cube.
And this is what we are going to do: explore what is behind the apparent. Here we are reconstructing the Noordzij's cube for our examination of the stroke theory using the letter ink. And this is the axis scheme. The three axes represents the three directions of the cube. First, diagonal axis varies across the three kinds of contrast. From the top, expansion contrast, in the middle, translation contrast, and at the bottom, rotation contrast. The horizontal axis handles the increasing amount of contrast, and eventually the stroke thickness. It's because the letters in the original cube get heavier from left to right. And the vertical axis, the dimension that is handling the diminishing of the contrast. In our case, represented with the lettering, it is the proportion of the imprint, whether the ellipsis is rounded or narrow.
All right, so we've got the skeleton design space that represents three dimensions of the Noordzij's cube. Diagonal for the kind of contrast, horizontal for the increasing contrast, and vertical for the diminishing contrast. What's next, Doctor?
Just show the result. Voila. Look at this wonder.
Spectacular intervention, Dr. Samuel.
Isn't it? Isn't it? I have purposely kept the round shapes on the places where the ellipsis edges are visible.
Lovely detail, Doctor. Lovely detail. But I assume we have more than this, don't we?
You bet. We have definitely more to show, Master Filip. However, allow me to caution the audience. The following content can cause feelings of disgust, in worst cases, mental damage.
Dear audience, please take doctor's caution into consideration and proceed the necessary safety actions.
All right, hope everyone is ready. Master Filip, do you remember Brother Wei Huang?
Of course I do. He perverted the logic of the father's Gerrit cube. He rotated the contrast scheme in 90 degrees and achieved the so-called reverse contrast.
Yes, this old prank of him revealed many speculative questions.
And perhaps he inspired other designers to explore shapes that goes beyond that original contrast scheme, right?
Yeah, we are taking his logic approach as a starting point and exploring how wild that perversion can go.
Oh, my bones!
Master, don't cry. I am a doctor of fonts, not your bones. This is just the beginning. Here we have reconstructed the Brother Huang's prank with the lettering stroke engine. However, what if we examine more of this Huang's perversion?
You mean by rotating the whole scheme not only for 90 degrees but even more?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Master Filip from Brno, Czech Republic.
That's breathtaking, Doctor. Here you are spinning around the whole contrast cube. But wait, the original Gerrit scheme has 3 dimensions.
That's correct.
However, the spinning of the whole contrast scheme suggests that there should be another, the 4th dimension, right?
Right, I agree. The 4th dimension is the tilt of the stroke contrast. But the stroke contrast tilt is always connected to the particular kind of contrast, like translation contrast tilt, expansion contrast tilt, and of course rotation contrast tilt.
I understand, but I will this rotation and tilt confused and easily exchange.
Yes, that's possible.
So, what is the difference between the rotation and the tilt, and how to distinguish each other?
I will explain it. Novices usually refer to the rotation contrast as this, what you can see, the angle of pen holding. And it is tempting simply because the rotation of the writing tool.
But this is not the so-called rotation contrast, right?
Right, no, this is not. This is the tilting of the translation contrast. However, rotation-based contrast is this: the contrast produced by a pen rotating along the skeleton.
That means rotating pen while moving it along the trajectory.
The writing tool imprint, in this case, ellipse, is rotating and therefore changes the shape of the stroke. In skeleton type design, the rotation effect is achieved by various angles of imprint on the same skeleton.
All right. So it means for the original father's Noordzij's rotation, there are different angles of the imprint along the skeletons.
Exactly.
And the tilt is changing all the angles at the same time.
Therefore, tilting the whole contrast scheme.
Okay. Dr. Samuel, you have demonstrated the possibilities of that tool. Did you come across some limitations, Doctor?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. The stroke tilt can be quite parametric in many cases, but it is limited when tilting the rotation contrast, and it is limited when tilting the expansion contrast. Here, in this example, we have tried to tilt the expansion contrast. We alter the expansion size between horizontal and vertical stems.
And apparently the result is not tilting.
No, this isn't tilting of the expansion contrast, because in between, as you can see, there is the monolinear shape. Also, in this next example, we have tried to tilt the expansion contrast again. We rotated the imprint and resized at the same time.
And the result is not tilting of expansion contrast again.
Yeah, yes, it's close, but it is definitely not the expansion contrast tilt. Maybe it's like a combination of translation tilt and reversing expansion.
Mhm.
This is the proper expansion tilt.
So you have to move the imprints to the extremes of the expansion. Therefore, to modify the skeleton, ergo to tilt the skeleton.
Exactly. When tilting the expansion contrast, we need to tilt the skeleton.
Okay, thank you for this precious insight, Doctor.
So, to sum up our examination, first, we have examined the stroke theory with the lettering engine. Second, thanks to the perversion of Brother Huang, we have proposed the tilt, the new dimension to the original logic of Gerrit Noordzij.
Mhm.
And third, we discovered that for the tilting of the expansion contrast and rotation contrast, we must tilt the whole skeleton, not only the imprint.
Mhm. Excellent summary, Dr. Samuel. It seems that we are done here.
Not so fast, Master Filip. We have more to preach.
What do you mean, Doctor?
We haven't ended up the examination within a single letter. This would be boring, don't you think, Master?
Yeah, I agree.
We have the whole alphabet, not only the letter E.
Of course, the font that is tilting its stroke contrast.
The font that is tilting its contrast. Do you want to see how the contrast tilting can influence the style of the whole typeface?
Doctor, not me, but the brothers and sisters out there must be keyed up to see that.
Of course. We have the whole, okay, voila. Here it is, the font that is tilting its contrast. Live, colorized.
Excellent, Doctor. So you have made the font that changed the stroke tilt.
Yes, you can have an ordinary stroke tilt, or you can push it to the extreme.
Impressive. Impressive, Doctor. And even though it feels like an obvious idea, I haven't seen someone to realize it as a font.
Me neither.
And what are those other sliders for? Tell me.
I can explain. Those are controls for the shape of the skeleton and the stroke weight.
Oh, I see. Awesome. Awesome.
You can observe that the contrast evaluation dimensions can be distinguished from the skeleton.
Do you mean that for the evaluation of the stroke contrast, we should also consider the shape of the skeleton? In other words, not only the shape of the writing tool, its expansion, rotation, and contrast tilt influence the letter shapes, but also the path of the moving hand?
Exactly, the shape of the skeleton also influences the font style. It's like mixing between styles of multiple writers.
Brilliant. So when I add my skeleton to this scheme,
I guess your skeleton better stays where it is, Master, in the closet.
pardon me. So when I design a new skeleton style, can I mix it with your skeleton styles?
Right, exactly, Master Filip. Your mind is so brilliant. Brilliant, sometimes.
Mhm. That's so tempting, Doctor. What about to reveal how is this working?
The base of this system is a default skeleton. It defines the skeleton shape, brush tilt, and how many control points are used per letter. It is purposely pretty neutral, grotesque, something like Helvetica. Maybe we can call it, in this case, something like Brashtica.
Brashtica, sure. So the purpose is to have something neutral, such neutral that it will be in the middle of the other styles, right?
Exactly, Master Filip. All new skeleton styles are then derived from the default skeleton style. For the prototype, I have selected 2 skeleton styles.
And why these 2 particular skeleton styles, Dr. Samuel?
Of course, there could be much more styles eventually, each on its own axis and interpolating against the default skeleton style. But for the demonstration, I like to have those 2, one with a playful touch and then one with more technical feeling. Anyway, each skeleton style has its masters of the stroke tilt range. This part was pretty easy and straightforward thanks to this wonderful lettering engine.
Right. The astute lettering engine can tilt the contrast across the whole font. And therefore, the each tilt master was just a matter of changing one parameter. And within this tilt master set, you are interpolating to get the tilting effect, right?
Right, exactly. The stroke tilt range is between 30 degree and 150 degree in this case.
Mhm.
And the last step of setting the design space, here the weight masters have been added. Particularly, each skeleton shape master and tilt master has its additional weight master. This step could be overwhelming, but again, the lettering algorithm has done the job pretty well.
Right. Again, it was just a matter of changing one parameter. Here, the stroke weight.
Yeah, it worked pretty well for the weight range between hairline and medium. The heavier styles were harder to produce with satisfying stroke shape results with the current lettering algorithm.
Mhm. When the lettering algorithm is improved, adding the heavier stroke styles will be a swift intervention, Doctor.
Swift and precise, Master Filip.
Anyway, how exactly the design space looks like and how many masters are needed at this moment?
Here is the diagram of the design space. At this moment, it is set up with 3 axes. The shape axis on diagram horizontally, the tilt axis on diagram vertically, and the weight axis on diagram diagonally. The design space is represented by the 18 font masters. Anyway, talking about technical tidbits. The bounding boxes of the glyphs are same across all masters, no matter of skeleton shape or stroke weight.
So, changing the font style doesn't influence the line width. The line
Exactly.
width, the line width stays the same no matter of the font weight.
Yeah, exactly. The skeletons give the rules for the spacing.
Okay, thank you.
And also, the skeletons rule the baseline, as you can see.
So the strokes are overshooting the vertical bounding boxes, right?
Right. And it is very important to mention that realization of this project, this letterface, was funded by Slovak Arts Council.
Thank you, Slovak Art Council, for supporting our project. Talking about the fund.
Talking about the funding, besides the grants, we are looking for investors to join us.
Yes, the investment will accelerate the progress of the stroke engine.
And the skeleton-based font, I'm proud to say that this year the project was nominated for the Slovak National Design Award in typeface category.
Congratulations, Dr. Samuel.
But didn't win.
Don't be sad, Doctor. This is just the beginning.
No, Master Filip, this is the end of our preach. I suggest to conclude this preach with the Skeleton Manifesto.
What an excellent idea, Doctor. Let's do it.
The heart of every solid character is a good skeleton. Without skeletons, typefaces get out of shape. Skeletons are the backbone of every proper family. Outlines are just empty containers for primitive species. All complex typographic organisms have skeletons. Skeleton type designers do exist. Skeletons not dead.
So let it be written.
So let it be done.
So that's the end of the presentation.
That's the end of the presentation.
Most amazing Master and Dr. Samuel wearing the same t-shirt.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sir Toshi.
Yeah, looks like the chat was really amazed with the presentation. Shall we start with a question?
Too many questions.
There's one from Siva Karyan. How do you deal with serifs in a skeleton-based framework?
Yeah, that's a good question. We call them outliners. And those outliners in this skeleton setup, you can mount to the skeletons. In Gliss particularly, you can add it as a component shapes.
All right.
So technically, when it's exported or translated to outlines, then they could be merged or still used as components. Or you can draw series with skeletons if you are good enough.
It is possible.
I have a question. So, as you are expanding along the skeleton, don't the weights also behave a little bit like grades, where you want your typeface to become a slightly bit thicker to compensate for different mediums like glossy paper or absorbent paper?
Samuel,
I maybe answer my own question. I'm sorry. No, because I noticed when you were like sliding the weight, it had the same effect as if you have those typefaces that are slightly bit lighter, if it's paper that expand. So it looked a bit like grades to me, the weights, because you also extend then a little bit beyond the baseline, no?
Yeah, because the typeface was expanded from the center, from the skeleton.
Yeah. I wish I had a T-shirt. I'd put off the lights.
But you are in black. It is also.
Yeah, I'm wearing a black, so that's almost there. Almost there. I'm joining the cult. I saw in the chat more people are joining the cult, so you should.
Yeah, I see. Let's join the team. We have also wallets.
Oh my god.
I guess another question. When you're designing light and heavy weights for font, it in a skeleton based type design, you need to adjust the center of the skeleton around the excitant baseline. Is it still the case, or can you just move the center, or I don't know? Is there like a trick that you can what's the experience when you're designing light and heavy?
In this prototype, we wanted to stay the skeleton on the same place, but of course there are some small modifications of the skeleton for different weights. But of course, I think there is necessary correction of the skeleton to moving some parts of the skeleton during the process. For heavier styles, it will be needed, I think.
Yeah, it's a designer's choice.
Yeah.
I think also one of the things is that it saves some time to keeping it on the same place at this moment.
Yeah, for the prototype, we wanted to demonstrate that the skeleton is the rule for the typeface in this case, but for the other typefaces, it is not necessary to keep the skeleton on the same place always.
All right.
I'm curious about the chat. What's going
I
on?
think there are no more questions, unless somebody has one, but everybody's has been hypnotized by
I think now we have some more disciples.
Yeah, I know.
Convert to skeletons. Forget about outlines and forget about notans.
You should go like, send me your money and we will. Okay. I think we can wrap this up. What do you think, Toshi? Do we move to the hangout room if people want to continue the conversation?
Yeah, I think we're good here. Yeah. Shall we move to the hangout then?
Okay, I want to thank Filip and Samuel. I was a bit skeptical because oftentimes scripted presentations tend to get like, but this was just great. Everybody was having
this was great.
lots
Yeah.
of fun. People were laughing all the time. This was so entertaining. It was really well done. I loved it. So
we didn't hear that loud, but we hope.
Yeah, no,
it was there.
If you had been in a room, you would have had laughter from the whole audience. So that's missing, of course. I'm really sorry about that. But this is the best we can do, unfortunately. But thank you again for such a fun and also interesting presentation. This looks like a great project. Like me, without being a type designer, I completely understood the principles and what you're doing and how it works. So it's extremely well done. So thank you so much. I think we can go to the hangout room now. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Filip, Samuel.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Filip.
And thanks all the people to join us.
Okay, see you on the other side, hangout room. Bye.
Bye. See you guys later.